And so we, as a staff, working extremely hard to avail ourselves of all the options in that regard in an effort to be at our best. And we're also open to learning from players. It's probably more of an adjustment for us as coaches than it is for players. Just they live in that technological world, handheld devices and so forth. They appear to be extremely comfortable with it. I think there's less comfort from a coaching standpoint. But in an effort to deliver appropriate material and an effort to have them duly prepared, it has our attention and it is required. We'll be in that state again this week, and I think that's a significant thing for us just to get better here this second time around the track, if you will. From a health standpoint, in terms of the team, in game we had a couple bumps and bruises that could affect potential availability or at least work at the front part of the week. Jalen Samuels had a quad. Trey Edmonds had a hamstring. We'll see where the week takes us in terms of some of those guys. There is really, really big optimism in the potential return to two guys that have missed some time. Mike Hilton is back to work tomorrow, and we're excited about that. And Chris Wormley as well, who's missed a significant amount of time with his knee injury. In the midst of that, I think we've gotten an opportunity to play some young people like we've talked about quite a bit and gain some experience and have some success in the midst of that. And all that does is strengthen us as we get some of these regulars back. And we know with the adversity and the challenges that lie ahead, that's going to be needed. In review of the game, I think the biggest significant component or analysis or critique of the game is our ineffective run game. And we spent a lot of time talking and thinking about that in an effort to move forward. One of the things I'll acknowledge is as a team, you always go through lulls in the season where components of your play are lacking, and it requires a recenter defense or a third down conversion defense was lacking. I think we spent some time talking about it, third and long and so forth. And, we've recentered ourselves in that area and gotten better. I can't say enough about the efforts of the guys on third down defensively, for example, last Sunday. So I look forward to getting into the lab with the coaches and the guys and attacking this run game situation. It's something that we shouldn't have a difficult time pushing through, to be quite honest with you. We have very capable people in that area, but it is below the line as we sit here today. Thankfully, it wasn't significant enough in terms of costing us a game at this juncture, but we're proceeding with that level of urgency. As we look at Jacksonville, one of the things that really captured my attention is this running back, James Robinson. I cannot say a significant component, particularly in their last matchup in Green Bay, was their ability to get the ball. And we all know Green Bay's ability to possess the ball. Green Bay, I think, is number one in the NFL in safeguarding the football. They had some significant turnovers in that game, and that turnover element of play is something that we need to be cognizant of as we head down to Jacksonville. We've always had rough and tumble games with those guys down there. They always play really tough defense. Todd Wash, their defensive coordinator, has been down there for a number of years. We had a rough and tumble game down there with them a few years ago that we had to march back and win late. He was a coordinator then, and it was tough sledding for us that day. We're anticipating that type of environment, that type of competitive spirit from those guys. They got quality players at all levels. The linebacker level in particular, Miles Jack is a really impressive player. Joe from up in Cleveland, they acquired in free agency, we're very familiar with. He's gotten after us in the past. He beat us last year, quite frankly, in Cleveland. Was a significant component of that. So we're preparing with an edge. We understand that we have a bullseye on our back, if you will, being where we are in this process. We don't run away from that. We embrace that. We enjoy the challenges that the National Football League presents week in and week out. We acknowledge that we're going on the road to an AFC South group, one that we have a history with, one that always plays us tough and always brings a certain edge to play. And so we respect that, and we're going to proceed this week with our work with those things in mind. I'll pause and open it up for questions.
Dale Lawley, go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, and looking at the issues with the run game, is it the plays that you're running? Is it the problems that other teams or things that teams are doing to you? Is it personnel? What is there something you can put your finger on with that?
Sure. It's generally usually a combination of all the above. And specifically last week, I was not surprised of the commitment that Cincinnati had.
Go ahead.
Mike, what did you see from Marcus Allen? Did he do enough to get another look as that lone inside linebacker in the dime? And is that a position you would like to solidify with one guy if you can?
I'm just living week to week in that regard. I like the contributions of Marcus thus far. Marcus has a skill set that lends itself to those environmental things, man. He's a good blitzer. He can run really good for the linebacker position. He's a good coverage guy for the linebacker position. And so his attributes have been an asset to us in that area. We'll continue to work with him in that area, but we're not opposed to looking at a bunch of different combinations that you guys have seen thus far. We've looked at a lot of different combinations in the time that guys like Mike Hilton and Devin Bush and Ulysses Gilbert have been out. We've looked at guys like Marcus Allen and Antoine Brooks and on the outside, the cornerback spot, even Justin Lane. So we like our experiences there. We're getting a sense of what those young guys are capable of and how they can help us. We've had some success along the way in spite of some of their lack of experience. And so all of those are good discussions and good issues to have as we formulate this plan.
Joe Rudder.
Yeah, Mike, this is the third of your last 4 road games. I think we're going to a state that's on the COVID restriction list for Pennsylvania. Is that a concern? And what precautions do you guys take on the road with hotels and things like that?
No added concern for me. I just got a great deal of belief in not only of the best practices outlined by the NFL offices, but our application of and the commitment that our organization has in terms of adhering to it and working to keep the guys as safe as we can. And so this is business as usual for us in terms of 2020 business, at least.
Brooke Breyer.
Yeah, Mike, have you found the consistency in your messaging that you've had over the years? Is it especially beneficial this year? You've talked about being light on your feet, making a plan, but being light on your feet. Is that what makes you guys so effective this season?
I'm not going to pretend to believe that that's the reason. I'm hopeful that I have the group duly prepared and ready to anticipate the challenges and the twists and turns that is the journey. But that's just me doing my due diligence.
Jim Colony.
Yeah, Mike, without all the preseason, off-season work that you normally have with rookies, how do you explain how many contributions you've gotten from pretty much every draft?
In terms of allowing them to answer the challenges of playing.
Albie Oxenreiter.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good.
Mike, Cam Sutton talked yesterday and suggested that coaching last week kind of helped in the avoiding a potential letdown. What have you done better, if you think that you've done better in any way, with preparing for teams that at least record-wise present the opportunity for a trap game?
I'm not into the trap game discussion. I understand that that's things that you guys like to talk about. But this is the NFL. And more than anything, the guys know my attitude regarding that. We are not a Big Ten team playing a MAC opponent this week. Every time we step into a stadium, we're playing professionals, players and coaches. And we got a ridiculous level of respect for that. And so, write your story, man. Follow your storylines about trap games and things of that nature. We understand what we're going into in Jacksonville, that's a group that's trying to kick our butt, a professional group, a capable group, and we're preparing with that understanding.
Ray Fittipaldo.
Mike, you touched on it a little bit earlier. You guys are second in the league in turnover margin. Was that a specific conversation that you had with Ben and the other guys that handle the ball during the offseason as far as what you needed from this offense?
It goes beyond conversations. It's about action. And we start every Wednesday workday with ball handling and ball security drills for those that throw it, catch it, run it. It's just a part of our culture, just like pursuing and working to take care of the ball on the other side. We believe that those two things work hand in hand, and discussions are just the very beginnings of it. We got to make sure that our actions match our words, and as a staff, we work extremely hard to do so from a drill standpoint in our week's prep.
Tim Benz.
Mike Robinson, that you talked about before, the running back, stylistically, do you find him to be similar to any of the other veteran running backs that you've seen so far this year? And do they block it up for him in the same sort of fashion that they did?
First, and control the game and the time of possession and things of that nature. That's always been kind of Jacksonville Jaguar football since he's been there. So that's what we're anticipating.
Jeff Hathorn.
Mike, how key has forcing turnovers been to your 9-0 start, and what's allowed you to carry over that success from last year into this?
You know, like I mentioned, we not only talk about it, but we drill it. And the guys, you know, I can't say enough about the effort of the guys. I mean, you know, Cam Sutton has forced a fumble in the last 3 football games, and that's a guy that doesn't play every snap of defense. He's more of a situational defender.
Of the run game. How satisfied are you there? You've called James Conner your bell cow. Do you think that you need a change there in some way?
I do not. He is. We're going to get better.
Jesse Washington.
Coach, you mentioned earlier about how it's harder to succeed when you can't look a man in his eye as often as you'd like to. Why is that, and what have you done to overcome that during this COVID season?
You know, it's just human nature, man. You know, it's easier to be wired in and engaged in conversation when there's close proximity. You can feel body clues as someone who teaches or instructs. And so it gives you an indication of whether you need to move on a particular subject or repeat. And I think just as teachers, and that's what we are as coaches, you need that feedback, you need that feel, and it's challenging and difficult doing it via Zoom and things of that nature. But again, I'm not complaining. I'm just acknowledging, and I'm really trying to set a mentality for the week for us as a staff that we can get better in that area as we proceed into the second week of this.
Mark Cavoli.
Hey, Mike, sort of a subjective question here. Have you guys found an identity yet? And if so, what is it?
You know, hopefully our identity is winning. We need to be diverse and versatile enough to be what we need to be just about in any circumstance. We need to have enough depth to meet the challenges of attrition that's associated in this game. We got to have enough talent across a wide variety of areas to play a certain style of play when circumstances or opponent dictates it. But more than anything, I want our personality to be that of a winner.
Will Graves.
Mike, are teams just defending you differently in the run game than they were in the first half of the season? And is it more just not winning enough battles at the point of attack more than anything else?
Guys, I think I've been very clear about where we are as a run unit. We're not up to snuff right now. We accept ownership for that. We're going to roll our sleeves up and solve it. We had a similar discussion a couple weeks ago when you guys were asking about our third and long defense. We did similar things there, and I expect similar results in regards to the run game.
Brooke Pryor.
Like you mentioned that the younger guys, the players, are adapting better to the virtual environment because they're familiar with handheld devices, things like that. How have you adapted to Zoom since March, and how have you seen your coaches adapt or figuring out ways to get around being able to look guys face to face?
I'm working hard not to be resistant to it. Our coaches are doing the same, but some of us are dinosaurs, man. We give ground grudgingly, if you will. But more than anything, we're gaining experience with it. And the more experience you gain, the more comfortable you get, the more innovative.